What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, August 31st, 2022 date, last day of August, about 2:09 p.m. California time, and the latest wake shows a 1.9 earthquake here into the West Coast area. Looks like right around the Southern California region. I know the first day tomorrow is September, so we got some fall in the air, but here in California, that's not the case. I want to go over this extreme heat wave that we're looking, or that's planning to play out here in the forecast for us here in California and a good portion of the western states. We got a massive high pressure heat dome building, looks like mainly right now over southern portions of Canada into the northern states, but that is going to deepen and allow the high pressure to further develop in an extreme way. This is looking at Sunday and the weekend time frame. We're looking at some major heat building up here throughout the California regions, and also along the coastline. Here in California, we normally have, for the most part, we normally have some cooler temperatures along the coast, but we're talking about possibly seeing that heat push that onshore wind offshore, so to speak, and that will cook the coastlines as well. And most of the time, those guys don't get out of the 60s or 70s here along the coastline, and they don't have ACs over there. Every time I go over there and spend a night in the motel along the coast in Eureka, Fort Bragg, Crescent City, up into Oregon regions, there's no ACs in there, so they are going to cook. I don't think they're going to get into the 115 degree range like we are expecting here in the valley. This here is for Wednesday, and of course temperatures in the 100 degree range right now, looking at about 104 or so for this area. But by the time we really start to get into Friday and this weekend time frame, we really ramp things up as far as the anomaly goes in the high temperature range, and we're looking at temperatures possibly peaking out around the Sunday time frame right there. A lot of heat building in, and into Monday as well. I think Monday is going to be the hottest day. Notice this right here. We could see temperatures right around 115, 116 degrees for this area. Now notice at the coastline, these are temperatures that are kind of stretching through the San Francisco Bay Area as well. That could spell some trouble as we talk about the power grid. There's already a flex alert from the PG&E folks mentioning that they want us to conserve power. We live here in California, and they're trying to push the EV scene, electric vehicle scene, and it's it's times like these where that we got to figure out a different plan far as getting energy out to the residents and the businesses and whatnot. But I want to show you guys the forecast here. This is today. I live right around Chico right here, so we're going to drop this pin right here around Chico. Just going to show you guys some of these temperatures here real quick as we head into the weekend time frame. That's about 8 a.m. About 4 p.m. is when we kind of peak out at our highs. Now we're used to getting temperatures here in the low 100 range, and it's been like that since about May. So we've had nothing but months of hundreds already. But as we get into the weekend time frame, things are really going to start cooking up, and we're looking at temperatures around the 110 to 115 degree range. These are some temperatures up and down the valley here. San Joaquin Valley's right around 110, 113 in Fresno. This forecast model does show cooler temperatures here along the coastline, but that could change just with even a little offshore wind. We could see those 90s really reach over here to the coastline. But right now, I got the EM. Let's go over to the GFS model and see what these guys are predicting. Sometimes these models are a little off, but as far as agreement goes, when it comes to the long-term, let's see if we can bring up here. Models go, we're definitely looking at heat this weekend. How hot it's going to be and the exact locations, well, definitely inland. We're talking about some major heat inland. These guys are showing about 111 across the board. Not for sure why this thing says 106. But within this vicinity of the area, looks like 111 throughout a lot of the Sacramento Valley. Merced 115. Look at San Jose 106. 75 in San Francisco, 106 in Santa Rosa, Ukiah. Holy smokes. So again, I think Sunday and Monday is going to be the peak day for the extreme heat. And I think these are being pretty lenient far as the high temperatures go. That says at 1 p.m., huh? Okay, here we go. Here's about 4 p.m. when the peak kind of heats, or when the when the heat kind of peaks here a little bit. Notice Yuba City 115. Chico here, where I'll be in the AC hopefully. Either that or I'm going to jump in the pool. 113 here on Monday. But massive heat dome over the west coast right now, and I'm kind of curious to see exactly how far this heat will stretch out along the coastline here, because those folks don't have ACs along the coastline, and there's a reason why. Because they have the onshore breeze, and it's cool. The Pacific Ocean is cool compared to the Gulf Coast or portions of the East Coast. So there's always that cool onshore flow, but yeah, PG&E is already issuing a statewide flex alert, and they want us to conserve power, and that starts today. I can only imagine when everyone's home this weekend, and trying to stay cool with their families and whatnot. So it's possibly we could test out the power grid come this weekend here in California. I wouldn't doubt it if we see for the first time some rolling blackouts, because we are looking at some all-time high records being challenged as we head into the weekend. Again, this is supposed to start, it's already starting. It's supposed to be 105 today, 107 tomorrow. So technically it's, but far as the peak goes, far as the extreme heat goes, looks like Sunday and Monday is the day that's going to be in a very watchful day. I'll keep my generator ready for sure. I'll run that thing all night if I have to, because it's hot. Little relief overnight when it comes to low temperatures. Talking about lows in the 80s, lower 80s overnight. So it's going to be hot all the way around. There is a heat warning right now, an excessive heat warning for the majority of California. That's a lot of people. All right, guys, looking at the earthquake report here, kind of just wanted to cover that weather report real quick, because this is kind of a big deal, and it also includes me and millions of other people here in California. Earthquake activity. Middle America Trench here kind of lighting up. It looks like quite a few fours overnight. Looks like the majority of this into the Middle America Trench regions, just off the coast of Guatemala and the El Salvador area. West Coast, there is some movement kicking up. Of course, we had that earthquake outside of Chico last night. I did not feel it. It got downgraded from a 3.0 to a 2.7 and a much deeper level at 16 kilometers. So I did not feel this earthquake outside of Chico here. But it is up against the mountain ranges here. There's a little fault system that kind of runs up against the foothills here. And of course, Oroville's had some earthquakes here in the recent past, in the past couple months or so. So a little bit, of activity up against the mountain ranges there, which is very typical. We just don't see it often, but it does happen. Looking at the microquake scale, some activity across Northern California today, mostly microquakes around Willow Creek, where there's still a pretty big fire burning up there. I think they're getting under control, but there's still a lot of work to be done. This one at 30 kilometers, so that's going to be a subduction zone earthquake. And by subduction zone, I mean a deep earthquake into the Cascadia subduction zone, which sits just offshore. Now this is where the plates start to subduct underneath the North American plate, but got to remember that's being shoved underneath the North American plate here to the east. That's why we have these arc volcanoes through the Sierra Nevada and into the Oregon region. But yeah, the deeper you go pretty much over here to the east, or the further you go to the east, the deeper it is into the subduction zone. But this is pretty deep earthquake, 30 kilometers here into that subduction zone, 2.1, and some further activity over here to the east. This one's at 14 kilometers along the Sierra Nevada. Looks like just outside Mount Lassen sits down here to the south, a pretty good distance, about 10 miles or so. So not associated with that volcano. And also over here to the west, had one on the Gorda Plate and the Pacific Plate boundary, a 2.9 at 29 or 21 kilometers deep. Pacific Northwest, a little spotty activity out there today, including some movement out around the Mansfield area, looks like, in Washington. A couple small quakes popping off there at about 11 kilometers deep for the majority of those. Movement throughout California in general, a little spotty again throughout the Sierra Nevada. Notice there's not a whole lot filling in up here. A couple quakes here, a couple quakes there, but overall, no major seismic unrest in the state of California today. Even down south here, not a bunch. Just some very small microquakes in the area, including a 2.0 on the Pacific side of the plate boundary, the San Andreas Fault. That's just a little small microquake there. Yellowstone National Park, looks like the USGS filling that in a little bit again. Let's check out the Yellowstone overview real quick and see what we got. I don't like looking at that heat map. So this is day number 6 of the earthquake swarm at Yellowstone. This has been ongoing for, like I mentioned, about 6 days now. A bunch of microquakes and a couple threes in there as well. Looking at the latest map here on the Maple Creek section where this activity is kind of occurring at, still shows that it's active overnight and this morning time frame. All these little earthquakes there indicative of the ongoing swarm at Yellowstone National Park. And these swarms are typical. They come and go. Sometimes they last for a day. Sometimes they go on for months at a time. So nothing to worry about far as any volcanic activity goes. I was reading, I was listening to a couple lectures last night in the geology class that I'm taking, and a gentleman was talking about Yellowstone and the the super volcano and how it's been a while since it's erupted, right? As far as the intervals go, and we're coming up around that time where we should start seeing possibly this thing get active, but who knows? Really, who knows the exact moment this thing could start to recharge and rebuild? All I know is earthquake swarms around the caldera and outside of it are typical. They happen on occasion. It's when we see 4s and 5s and maybe a bunch of 6s here and a bunch of GPS uplift is when we would start to worry about this thing getting ready to erupt. But as far as these little microquakes, they're like little pebbles on a beach, just kind of drop in there. That's probably not the best best explanation for it, but these swarms, they come and they go, and it's pretty lengthy, little 6-day earthquake swarm, and hundreds and hundreds of little microquakes, but we'll keep an eye on the big ones, see if they pop off anytime soon. Okay, back over to the USGS map here. I don't want to make this a super long video. A little spotty activity across the rest of the country today. A small microquake in the Tennessee area. This is the New Madrid zone. It's another seismic hazard area we got to watch. And from last night out there in the New Jersey area, 1.7 near the Lake Telemark area. I've had a couple small microquakes out there recently. Puerto Rico area, seen a little bit of movement today as well, mostly confined to the southwestern edge of Puerto Rico. Looking across the Pacific, a little activity further up north today along the Philippine Plate. Seen a 5.0 just around the East China Sea. That one was actually from late last night, it looks like. But we did have some further movement here within the last couple hours or so off the coast of Japan into the Japan Trench at 62 kilometers for a 4.4. So getting a little active up there. And also noticing a broad area of activity throughout the region here around the Indian Ocean and also down into the African area. Looks like around the rift zones there. One earthquake outside of the Uganda area, 4.2 kicking up. Greece did have a, a 5.5 kicking up here. It looks like it is offshore, so not a whole lot of population affected. The Sea of Crete, 5.5 at 10 kilometers, pretty shallow earthquake there in that region. All right, let's go over to the Space Weather Department real quick, take a look at that, and then I want to cover the Tau Island volcanoes a little bit quieter today. We're still kind of crackling with some sea flares as far as the sunspots go. Notice this here, little downtrend though. That was the last huge long duration M flare explosion that popped off yesterday from sunspot 3088. Notice that it's kind of gone down a little bit. Look at that, not a whole lot of M flares today over the last 24 hours, but we're still popping and crackling with some C flares from a couple different sunspots. Right now, overall threat is starting to diminish because of that activity now on the far side of the sun. 80% chance of a C flare, M flare at 30% chance, X flare remains at 5. Really the only sunspot right now we're kind of watching and keeping our eye on is 3089. That is in the Earth view. Let's see if we can get this one to pull up. There we go. This is the latest imagery of it, and it actually kind of looks like it's decaying a little bit far as the complex magnetic field that it was harboring. Looks like we may be starting to just dwindle down a little bit, and after that, if this thing doesn't produce anything, there's really not a whole lot along this area of the sun that's facing the Earth. Over here on the southeastern side, eastern limb, looks like maybe a new developing sunspot, but we'll have to see how that one develops. But overall, things are just kind of tapering off right now. 3089 looks like it does still harbor a beta gamma class, but like I mentioned, it's kind of degrading pretty quickly. So we'll see if that wants to pick back up or not. All right, volcano hazards here on the flat scale model. The USGS volcano site from their social media, I'm sure they still have it here on their page, has, installed a couple different seismograph stations around the Tau Island volcano, and gonna see if I can access it here. I haven't looked at it yet. I just got home a little bit ago, so I'm kind of seeing what they have here. Let's see here. August 30th. Looks like this one was put out yesterday. Let me see if I can access their data system. I know we got data right here, but I think this is still the Raspberry Shake data. I believe. Yes, it is. Not for sure. I know I had it on here. Stand by for just a second. Okay, so this is the Raspberry Shake data. It's still showing quite a bit of earthquake activity. Let me see if I can find the recent update here. Stand by for just a second while I pull this up and see if I can find it here. All right, let me bring this up, bring it back over here so you guys can see. So the USGS Volcanoes did put out a an article here about broadband seismic stations on Tau Island have been installed and are transmitting data. Let's see what they got here. You can now view seismic data on the Tau Island webpage. So we're going to go over there. And see if we can find that. But I could have swore we were just here. But I know we got more than the Raspberry Shake data, so unless they've very interesting here. Let's see here. Yeah, see, this wants to open the Raspberry Shake data, so they still have these stations, EHE, ENZ, these different types of stations, but I'm going to have to look into this and see exactly how to access that. Like I say, it's been a crazy day, let me tell you. That's all I can say. All right, I'll have that for tonight's update. I don't want to waste a lot of time looking around for that. So we'll cover that on tonight's update as far as the seismic stations go there that they installed. And they say that they're publicly available, so we'll check that out a little bit later on tonight. But either way, earthquake swarm still continuing in that region. And just kind of waiting to see what happens there as far as that ongoing earthquake activity. All right, guys. Again, live stream is up and running. And everything's pretty solid, at least on this end. But we'll be watching things here a little bit. There's a little bit of fishy activity this morning with the earthquake 3D globe. I was starting to do a kind of like a strobe deal, which actually almost caused the stream to go down after getting it back up. So I'm not for sure what's going on with the earthquake 3D globe program. Sometimes it likes to do some fishy stuff. That's all I'm going to say. But all right, guys, we'll catch you a little bit later on tonight with the update video then. Until then, stay safe, stay cool if you can, and I'm going to be busy here next few hours getting a whole bunch of work done on this lecture stuff. And yeah, all right, guys, we'll catch you a little bit later.